So for the second pre-European week running, we've managed to pull off a opposition view direct from the continent, from Europe. This week, I'm delighted to say that Tom Midler joins me direct from Vienna. Tom, thanks very much for dialing into the podcast this morning. Just let us know, you've got a podcast of your own, first of all, haven't you? Just let everyone know what that is first.
Yeah, sure. So I run something called the Other Bundesliga with a couple of colleagues here in Austria. We cover the Austrian Bundesliga, the Austrian national team, basically everything involving Austrian football in the English language. So if you're interested to find out a bit more about what's going on in Austria, check out at Other Bundesliga.
Nice one, Tom. Nice one. For any of you at home who fancy checking out Rapid Vienna and all the others. Is it 12 teams, I believe, in the Other Bundesliga, is there, Tom?
That's right, 12-team Bundesliga. There's a second division as well, which is pretty interesting, to be fair. So it's worth checking it out.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, straight into it then, I guess. Obviously, West Ham welcome Rapid Vienna to the London Stadium on Thursday night. Everyone absolutely delighted. It's our first ever Europa League group stage game at home. We obviously had our first ever one a couple of weeks ago away to Dinamo Zagreb. We got an emphatic victory out there. I think it's fair to say that in the build-up to this game, everyone's been saying the feeling among West Ham fans is that the Rapid Vienna game is going to be our easiest fixture, the easiest team of all three. The Vienna ran Genk close in the first game out. I've just had a look, and they're not doing very well domestically at the moment, are they?
No, that's right. They're joint bottom of the table at the moment, so really struggling in Austria. You know, this is a team who we don't expect them to win the Bundesliga here, really, given that Salzburg have pretty much a monopoly on that, barring anything miraculous. But they should really be fighting for that second spot, and to be where they are at this point of the league season is simply not good enough. And yeah, it's a bit painful to hear West Ham lining up Rapid as the easiest game, but in fairness, it's probably on paper the truth. And from Rapid's perspective, they probably would have thought their opener at home against Genk was one of their best opportunities to pick up points. So it was heartbreaking to concede a 92nd minute goal to lose that one.
Yeah, so it was 1-0. So that just talks through that one. So obviously we went through the result. How did the two teams fare against each other? It sounds like a close game. Was the was a draw a fair result, or were Genk the better side?
I think it's one of those. There's probably two results that would have been fair, and a 0-0 draw would have been fair on Rapid for what was a very good defensive effort. They didn't stick to purely playing defensive football, but they were forced back for large parts of the game by Genk, and they held up with that very, very well. In fact, Leo Greimel, the young centre-back, had an excellent game against some really talented strikers in the Genk forward line. So I think they would have been deserving of a 0-0 draw, but at the same time, you certainly couldn't really complain when Genk nicked the winner. It was just the nature of it coming so late that felt very harsh on Rapid, but actually 0-0 or 1-0, probably both fair results in the end.
Yeah, fair enough. So, yeah, as we mentioned, domestically, Rapid Vienna 11th at the moment, but only off the bottom by goal difference right now. What can you put that down to? 9 games played so far, so you're nearly... correct me if I'm wrong here. I assume you're at the midway point of the season. Is there just the 18? Is there 23 games in the campaign? Is that right?
So you have, they play 22 games first of all, and then the Austrian league it's a little bit different from most leagues. So everyone plays each other twice, and then at that point the league splits actually into a top 6 and a bottom 6. And then the final 10 games of the season are played exclusively against the bottom 6 if you're in that group, and the top 6 if you're in the championship group. But for a club like Rapid, they absolutely must get into that top 6 group at a minimum, because that's where all the big games happen. You know, the Austrian Bundesliga has pretty much quite a big drop off in terms of the stature of the clubs involved. So if you're in the top 6, you're going to be playing big games pretty much week in, week out. Lots of interest from the fans, lots of European places up for grabs at the end of the season. So that's where most of the points and prizes are won. And if you're stuck in the bottom 6, which has happened to Rapid once since the new league format came in just a few seasons ago, it's pretty dire for the big clubs, because then you're playing against really small clubs for the rest of the season. The fans simply are not quite as interested, and there's only one small backdoor to Europe if you can make it, but it looks pretty difficult if you're languishing in the bottom 6. The benefit for Rapid at the moment is that it's very, very close, and I don't think it's been a complete disaster for Rapid in terms of the way they've played. It's just that the results haven't quite gone their way. That's letting them off the hook a little bit too easily. They haven't been good enough simply, but it's not that everything is going wrong. I still think they've got a good squad. They've got some good players. They're just not somehow able to find the way to win matches that they've had this pretty consistently the last couple of seasons under their manager, Didi Kubauer. They've been gradually getting a bit stronger from what was a slow beginning under his tenure at Rapid. And then the last couple of seasons, they pushed up, into second place, got that runners-up spot back, got into Europe again. And we were thinking, oh, look, things are sort of going the right way. They found a good recipe. And this season, it just somehow isn't really working for them. Their strikers, Ercan Kara, who's very much the sort of Jamie Vardy of Austrian football. He's come up from the lower leagues, from non-league football essentially, and now he's playing for the national team and scoring goals in Europe. He's trying his hardest this season, and it's just not going in for Kara, the big target man. He's been ably assisted by Taxi Fountas, the Greek striker, who was a really good signing a couple of seasons ago for Rapid. His goals, they've been so dependent on the goals of Kara and Fountas, and they're just not finding the back of the net at the moment, and that's making everything else look bad. I mentioned Leo Greimel as well, a really good young defender. He's having an excellent season and always getting better, but you can't win games on your own as a centre back. So it's difficult times, but there's life in there somewhere for Rapid. It's not, I don't expect them to be down at the bottom of the table come the end of the season.
Yeah. Well, 9 games, 2 wins, 2 draws, 5 defeats so far, 10 goals scored, 13 against. Just the 8 points there. But like you mentioned, Austria Vienna up in 5th, just 3 points above. So obviously results dependent. It looks like they could turn that round pretty quickly if they can find some form from somewhere. We'll be hoping, of course, that they don't manage to do that before Thursday. So looking ahead to that, Tom, how are you seeing the game play out? What are you expecting from that game at London Stadium on Thursday night?
It's going to be a very difficult one. Rapid are up against it massively here. There's no doubt about that. You talked earlier about the first group stage game for West Ham at the London Stadium. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. It's going to be brilliant, and for Rapid, it's going to be great to be a part of that. To be honest, it's going to be a fantastic occasion for them. But at the same time, it means West Ham are going to be really, really on it. It's going to be one of those special occasions where I think that's going to just add an extra layer of difficulty for Rapid, who are they're no strangers to a big crowd. They're the most well-supported club in Austria. They've got a great stadium and a really great fan base here, so they'll be taking plenty of away fans if that's possible with the travel regulations at the moment. But it's going to be a massive task for them, and I think the problem with the slump that they're in at the moment is that in normal circumstances, getting beaten away at West Ham, it wouldn't really be a big deal, but it's a difficult challenge for the manager and for the players this time, because if they do get beaten 3 or 4-0, which wouldn't be a huge surprise in fairness for Rapid, if they give a kind of lifeless performance like that, it could have consequences for the manager. He's under probably the most pressure that he's been under since the very beginning of his reign here. So it's a difficult proposition now to go away to West Ham. I think if Rapid do lose this one, they need to be at least keeping the fans happy with a kind of battling display. So they've got pressure to go out there and push for something. But at the same time, if they do go out there and push for something, you're potentially opening the door to a bit of a hammering. This West Ham side are very, I don't know, the kind of clinical side. If you think about the game against Dinamo Zagreb, it was very comfortable, very professional, wasn't it? So I feel like there could be a lot of struggles for Rapid over the 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think domestic form as well. Obviously, it doesn't always play into European fixtures, but we can only go on what we've seen from West Ham so far this season. We managed the Dinamo Zagreb game more than comfortably. That was in a foreign environment, away from what we're used to. It's going to be the comfort zone of London Stadium. We're playing well there in the league, as well in the Premier League, of course. So, yeah, I mean, a daunting prospect for Vienna. I think there's some concern, Tom, among West Ham fans, certainly us on the podcast, that for the home games are likely to be a bit more difficult in Europe, especially the group games, in that all the teams are going to come there and just think, oh, we'll be happy with the point. That therefore encourages teams to just sit back, and that's not really, I mean, we have got the ability to break teams down, of course, but that's not really where West Ham's strength lie. We're happy for other teams to have the ball usually and hit them on the counter-attack. You mentioned there how clinical we are. We've got pace in Jared Bowen and Mikel Antoni up front, the technical ability of Pablo Fornals and Said Benrahma. not all of those players are likely to play Thursday, but for style of play wise, are you expecting, as you mentioned against Genk, that it's going to be a very attack against defence 90 minutes?
I think so, but that might be more to do with the quality rather than any tactical decisions from Didi Kubai. It sort of goes back to what I mentioned earlier about them. They need to get some kind of positivity out of this game, whether it's a win or not. The win might be unrealistic for Rapid, but they need to get something from it. And I think if they just sat back and then were defeated by West Ham in the end, it's not going to impress anyone. Put it that way. It's going to be another sort of black mark on what's already been a very difficult season for Rapid. And when you look at the market values of the two teams, West Ham's squad value is around 10 times the squad value of Rapid Vienna. It's a huge difference, roughly 35 million in value in euros for Rapid Vienna's squad, and around 350 million euros apparently, according to Transfermarkt, in value for West Ham. So that gives you a sort of a little bit of a scale of what Rapid are up against. So it's going to be difficult for them. They can't realistically go and say, will go all out attack, but they've tended to play 4-2-3-1 this season. But as I said, with the lone striker, whether that's Funtas or Kara, it just simply hasn't really worked this season. And some of the brighter lights have been in the attacking midfield trio. So Marco Gruel is one to look out for, loves to run forward on the ball. He's a new signing, sort of proving himself at this level for the first time in one of Austria's really big clubs. And he's settled in very well on the European stage. So Gruel is one to watch. Araze can be difficult on the other wing as well. So maybe they'll try as much as they can to sort of release a bit of space on the wings and push things forward, because I think it's going to be difficult for Rapid if they do elect to sit back. I think if you go back to the Rapid versus Genk game, it was more that Genk pushed Rapid back than Rapid elected to sit back. So I think we might be something similar in that sense.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing, isn't it? You hope that, sometimes we do get concerned as West Ham supporters about playing against defensive teams. But as you mentioned there, I think hopefully just the quality of our players is going to mean that there isn't too much pushback. You mentioned there, Tom, you've thrown some names out already, player-wise, personnel-wise. Who should be West Ham fans be looking out for as maybe the sort of danger men, or just ones to watch in the Vienna side?
Most players have been a little bit patchy this season. So there's players like Christoph Knasmüller who can really come on and have an impact. He's got a great strike from long distance as well, Knasmüller. But he's blown hot and cold this season for sure. So watch out perhaps for him coming on from the substitutes bench. Lubicic as well, Robert Lubicic, good free kick taker, might be worth a watch. He gets himself about a bit. Also, a bit of a red card merchant at times as well, Lubicic. So potentially a bit of a liability if things are going wrong for Rapid. But Leo Greimel is probably the central defender that you'll want to watch out for in the sort of one-on-one duels. He's very young and still very, very youthful and enthusiastic, I suppose, at centre back, but he catches the eye sometimes and pops up occasionally with some headers on goal. So he's one to keep an eye on. But I think the rest of the Rapid defence is where some problems may lie. I'll throw in a couple of other names. Maximilian Ullmann tends to play left back or as one of the wing backs. He'll be trying to turn defence into attack for Rapid. He's another one with a good shot on him too. He likes to run forward and have shots on goal and try to create things for Rapid. So, if a few of those players can have a good game, there's definitely the quality in there that they can hurt sides, even a side with as much talent as West Ham. There's no doubt about it. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be just simply a huge shock if Rapid were to put in a good performance in this game and get something. But it's just the nature of where the two teams lie right now. How good West Ham are looking and how difficult Rapid struggles have been this season, that unfortunately I think it would be a big shock. And I think Rapid would be very, very happy with a point from the London Stadium.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, it's shaping up to be an exciting game. I personally am absolutely desperate to get down there. Just first home Europa League group stage game for West Ham. It feels like it's been a long time coming. So fingers crossed it'll be a good spectacle. Just quickly, Tom, before I let you go, as far as you mentioned the fans briefly there, I'm not sure what the travel restrictions are like as far as Austria to UK and vice versa. Are you expecting many to travel? Do Vienna travel well? And is this a game they would look to? And what can West Ham fans expect? Hopefully we'll get you on before that second leg. But what could West Ham fans expect when travelling to Vienna as far as the stadium and perhaps the city and travel arrangements go?
Yeah, like you say, I mean, I guess when it comes to government regulations at the moment, it's not the easiest to predict because things might be a bit different at the time. But I believe at the moment that fans are allowed to travel over. There's the various testing requirements, of course, but Rapid do tend to travel very well, and I would expect them to enjoy this occasion. Rapid are a club that don't have much else to celebrate right now. They're without a trophy since 2008. So being back in the Europa League, being able to celebrate these sort of big European nights and perhaps come away with some results, as they have done on several occasions in the last few years, that's a big thing for them at the moment. So they'll be looking to enjoy this more than the standard Bundesliga game on the weekend. So I'd expect they will travel, and yeah, I'm looking forward to having you in Vienna on the return leg, of course. But it's a great place to come. It's really easy to get to from London. Easy flights to Bratislava or to Vienna. You can pop over here in no time. It's just a couple of hours away. Beautiful old city, great hospitality, good beer, good food. Very easy. The stadium in Hütteldorf is sort of very accessible from the center of Vienna as well. It's just over in the west of the city, and nice modern stadium. And I would certainly.
How big is it, Tom?
31,000, I think 32,000.
Okay. So it'd be a reasonably large away allocation. I'd have thought for that would be in a region of what, 3,000? Would that be?
I would expect something about that. Yeah, 3,000 to 4,000.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. Excellent. Well, Tom, look, we really appreciate you coming on there. Tom Midler from the Other Bundesliga podcast. Tom, just quickly, before we let you go, what's your score prediction for the game? London Stadium, West Ham v Rapid Vienna in the Europa League on Thursday night.
3-1 West Ham, I'm going for.
3-1 West Ham, Tom. Well, we do always like an opposition view who comes and tells us West Ham are going to win. Not that often happens, although a bit more often than usual these days. But Tom, it's been brilliant to have you join us. Thanks so much. And we hope to speak to you again before the return leg, which is the last game of West Ham and Rapid Vienna's Europa League group stage campaign this year. Tom Midler there from the Other Bundesliga podcast. Thanks so much. Stay with